You talked more about this focus team, and it might have been actually in the beginning of that chapter where you mentioned team burnout. And that resonated with me and my team because we were going in every different direction, trying to keep up with the amount of demand that we had and trying to keep up with the amount of changes that we needed to implement. And as the leader of the company, you have to keep your pulse right, not only just on the business, but how is your team doing? You're checking in with them and making sure that they're not burned out. And let's face it, when you're starting out, you're just doing everything. And we're not really keeping track of the clock because we do whatever it takes. But how do we make sure that our team doesn't burn out?
Well, first of all, you need to make sure that you don't burn out as a franchisor because you're taking on too much and you end up working 60, 80 hours, weekends, and your family is suffering, your personal life is suffering. And we see that way too often because you want to succeed, which is fine. Being highly motivated and driven is absolutely fine to an extent, because if you don't protect yourself and think about yourself first, there won't be a business. You are the franchisor. You're the head of the business. So finding that team, and that might look as half a person a week, or meaning 4 hours a week, sure, or 4 hours a day person, to a full-time operations manager once you have a few franchisees, to a franchisor, head of franchising, or it doesn't have to be hiring a 5 or 10 people team right away from the start. You could be having help with freelancers. You could be having help with a family member. Just asking for help is the first thing that you need to admit, and then understanding that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay and to not be able to do it all because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then thinking about your team.
Yeah. So essentially, it's about giving up control and being okay with it, which is difficult for some people, right?
It was very difficult for me.
Yeah. It's difficult for probably a lot of franchisors. That's why it's so difficult for franchisors to succeed. And they have to realize the only way to succeed in franchising is giving up control. And for people like us, because I did have that same mentality where nobody could do it as good as I could. But I realized as I was getting burned out and frustrated, that my motto changed to, okay, if somebody could do it 70% as good as me and the job gets done, it was good enough, which was hard because I was this perfectionist. And what I came to find out is I started hiring really good people who were much better than me. So forget them being only 70% as good as me. I was maybe 70% as good as them.
Absolutely. And in the book, I talk about surrounding yourself with A players.
Yes.
So building a team of people who align with you in terms of values, integrity, ethics, who share your passion for the business, who want to help you grow, is important, because those are the people and the team that is going to communicate with your franchisees, is going to build the culture of the business. So making sure that you don't compromise on how you build that team and whom is part of it, it's very important.
You know what's so fascinating too? I've talked to so many emerging founders, and so many of them have done it the same way I did it, it is frustrating, is you start out with this bottom up kind of organization where it's the founder and they have a whole bunch of people that they could afford, which is not much. And so you have this really, really flat organization chart, and it becomes really, really challenging because if you don't have A players, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. And then you get to the point where either you're going to go out of business or you're going to really limit your success, where you have to flip the switch and say, I need to start hiring from the top down. And when you make that change, your business has changed forever. I know that happened in my case, that once I started being able to bring on a president and CEO, that was money so well spent. But you don't think that, right? When you're starting out, you think you just can't afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. At the beginning, and that's absolutely fine. At the beginning, when you're looking to sign up your first franchisee and just to validate the concept, it's okay that you don't have money for an A-player team, or it's okay. That's why I said the options of freelancing are out there. If you need a copywriter, you can hire someone for a few bucks online. If you need someone to do your website, you can hire someone. If you need some operations advice and so on, there's people that offer that for free in franchise groups and communities. You don't need to actually hire expensive staff at the beginning, but the first shift is exactly as you said. admitting that you can't do it yourself, and there's other people that are better qualified than you.
Sure. They're certainly out there. All right, let's get into your wheelhouse, the marketing side of it. So number 4 is a full funnel.
All right, and I can talk about this
Let's
for days.
go. All right.
Right, so there's a few ways of looking at this. For franchisors, a full funnel means a full funnel of leads of potential franchisees and people who want to buy into your model. And for franchisees, that means, having a steady flow of end customers. So this is why the book is suitable for franchisees and franchisors both. And for franchisors, of course, you want to first start with the reputation, because no one's going to buy a franchise from you if you have really poor reputation and a lot of your franchisees, ex and current ones, are slagging you. So that is important. But secondly, how do you build that funnel of leads? Do you have a concept? First, the franchising concept that is validated and proved, and have you signed up your first franchisee? And that's okay if you haven't. Through channels such as Google Ads, social media, your own website, which is your own media, and other channels, you can create and build this hype and build your brand online so that people can buy into your model. But the first and foremost, you need to know exactly what you offer and have a really well combined package with all the USPs. Because, as you said yourself, there's so many franchisors out there, 4,000 in the US alone, and there's a lot of noise in the market. Why would someone pick you instead of another similar brand? Why would they want to work with you? Even if you don't have that proven track record of 10, 20 locations already. So you were a successful business beforehand. Why were you successful? What made you different? How are you going to support them? And I think a potential franchisee wants to not only know what they're getting for their money, but they want to establish that connection, that chemistry with the franchisor, and to know that he's got their back at all times. Whatever problem they come across, he's going to be there or she's going to be there to have their back and help them and support them so that they succeed.
That's great. I think this really validates what you said earlier about franchise reputation being key, because if you think about who is typically the first franchisee or franchisees of a franchise,
your customers.
Right, your customer. They're the ones willing to take a chance on you because they've already took a chance on you, as opposed to just being one of 4,000 franchisors in the U.S. trying to get the same eyeballs, right, to try to become a franchisee. And that's probably where some emerging franchisors go wrong. They think they're going to just throw a whole lot of money into franchise marketing and they're going to go after competing with all the other brands, which is really, they're fishing in the wrong pond, right?
Correct. Because your ideal franchise avatar that you've already established and you wrote down could be anywhere from found from your team members, your family members, extended relatives, customers, and those can be the ideal first few franchisees that are only going to validate your concept. But to speak a little bit more on the marketing side for newly open locations as well, to have a steady lead of customers for first, second, third location, you need to really push on local marketing. And that's the secret. And it's not really a secret because any location-specific business, which franchising is, should focus on local marketing. And with all the tools that we have and all the AI, Google, Facebook, all of the digital platforms out there, you really have no excuse but to really push and master your local marketing. And I mean Google My Business, local service ads, all of these almost free products that allow for a local business to market and advertise themselves and build their brand of and their local customers.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.